don't show up so much in the mirror.
Do you want me to have weights or anything?
So nope, we don't do weights.
Okay.
For Mobility Monday. So Mobility Monday is pretty chill. We don't want to get sweaty. We don't like, we just want to like stretch, lengthen, strengthen. We do a lot of core activation, stuff like that. So I did, if you're comfortable with foam roller, I did grab a few foam rollers and some bands that we'll use.
Okay.
If you're not comfortable with it,
Well,
let
once
me know.
I see your routine, yeah,
It's not
whatever
too
you
bad.
suggest. Yep.
All right, we just start in the middle though. And we always start, last week I forgot, we had to do it at the end. Just like to start with some nice deep breaths. So one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly. You can do this seated or you can do this laying down, however you're comfortable. Just feeling that air as it rises in your chest and then as it rises in your belly. And then as you exhale, your abdominals have to engage, your diaphragm engages to push that air out. Just kind of resetting, good breathing for the rest of our afternoon. Trying to release some of that stress, some of that tension. Right. Now that we've kind of settled our nervous system a little bit, we're going to grab a band. If you're at home, you can grab a band or a rope or a belt or whatever you have that's handy. A towel will work just fine. We're going to lay down on our back. Make sure we have it so like if your shoes are too flat, like mine are kind of flat, so I'll take my shoes off. We're going to start with one leg and we're just going to use that band to gently go up and down, stretching through that hamstring. Everybody gets to stare at the bottom of my shoe. Trying to relax, keeping that movement all coming from your hip socket, nothing else is moving. Your pelvis is nice and stable. It's not shifting from side to side, forward and back. You might have a slight arch in your spine. It's just your natural arch for right now. And we're going to hold it at the top, gently reaching towards our toes, giving it a gentle little pull. With that same leg, you're going to set down the other leg and you're going to go side to side. Letting that leg fall from the outside, letting it cross over your body, keeping your upper body pinned to the mat. Your upper body, like shoulders, should not roll off the mat just because our leg is going across our body. That's what the rope is there to help us with, so that leg doesn't flail out of control. With flexibility, like where you're at, doesn't really matter how low that leg gets on either side. You just bring some movement back into that hip joint, waking it up. You're going to hold your leg to the outside. Get a nice stretch through your inner leg. Remember to breathe. And then you're going to bring the leg across the body, holding it across the body. nice stretch through the side of the leg, maybe a little bit in your IT band, depending how tight it is. All right, switch legs. And put that other leg through the loop, and then up and down. Maybe as you get a little bit warmed up, you'll notice that that leg can go a little bit further back, be gentle with it. Or you find that this leg is tighter than the other, maybe you need to give this one a little more attention. Later today, give it a little extra stretch. Hold it at the top, gently pulling that leg back, doing a nice stretch to the back side of our leg. And then we're going to go to that side to side, letting that leg flow from side to side, flow. Keeping your pelvis nice and stable. It's just that hip bone moving in the socket right now. The core might have to engage a little bit to keep us down on the floor, and that's okay. You'll let that leg fall all the way to the outside, feeling a nice stretch to our inner leg. Use that band to hold the leg up if you need to, if you're just going to fall too far for your stretch. And then bring it all the way up and over across your body. Don't let those shoulders come off the ground. Take note if the side tighter than the other side, looser than the other side. Feeling today. This is always my tight side, so I can stand and stuff or walk and talk. All right, we're gonna set that band down. That's my back a little bit. We're gonna do a little bit of core activation. So, tucking our hips under, tucking our lower back down against the ground. Right there, we're engaging our transverse abdominals. Remember to breathe. We're just going to alternate, picking up a foot off the ground, nice and slow. And what we want to focus on here is keeping that belly button to spine, so keeping that transverse engaged, keeping everything in the hips nice and stable, not letting anything rock from side to side, not letting it shift up and down. Such a simple move can really turn into a very good core exercise. Let's say you have maybe low back pain or something like that during the day, this is a really great way to just like activate the muscles on the front side of the trunk and maybe put ourselves in some better alignment. Find that your lower back wants to come up off the ground. Take a second, reset, put it back to the ground. Keep right on going. Maybe coming from the other side today. All right, now we're going to bring those legs up to a tabletop position. We're going to reset, pin that lower back down to the ground, belly button to spine. Drop the foot down to the mat this time. As we go for this one, we're going to progress a little bit. So we'll do a few right here, and then we'll kind of find different positions in this one that might add a little challenge if you need it. Challenge number one would be if you want to lightly pick your shoulder blades up off the ground. You're going to add a little bit of those top ab muscles activating the rectus abdominis, the muscles on top of the transverse. We just added a little extra. If you find that your neck is starting to get involved or you can't keep your neck out of it, then go ahead and put both hands or one hand just to support the back of your head. And then if you need a little bit more of a challenge, this is completely optional. You keep doing whichever version you want. You can do this with your head down or with your shoulder blades up a little bit, your choice. We're just going to start taking that leg out a little longer. So our levers are getting a little longer here. You can't keep your lower back hinged to the ground. Then maybe stick with just the toe taps. So you pick. We're going to stay nice and slow, nice and controlled. If you have to reset at any point, go ahead. We're going to use what we just did. We're going to give it a quick little reset here. We're going to bring our hands behind our head. We're going to bring our legs up and we're going to take it into a bicycle. So we're going to kind of put what we were doing all together and add on a little bit. We're going to go nice and slow, nice and controlled. Keep our lower back to the ground. Our hips are nice and stable. They're not shifting up and down as we twist our elbow to our knee. It's just crunching in our waistline. That's where that movement is happening. And the lower that extended leg goes down to the ground, the more you're going to feel it in your core. We'll do 10 more seconds. Go at your pace. Pick the variation that you need. And done. Just bring yourself to a nice full body stretch, reaching up arms and legs out nice and long. Taking a nice big deep breath. Feeling that natural arch in your spine and reach. So good. We're going to roll it over onto our front side. We're going to cross ourselves up over. Doing a nice stretch for abdominals. Remembering to breathe, that nice breathing that we learned how to do earlier. And go ahead, we're going to sit back into a wide child pose. Doing a nice little stretch with a little release in our lower back, a little stretch in our inner leg. From here, we're going to pull our toes under. We're going to shift into downward dog, feeling a nice stretch through the back side of our legs, and then we're going to alternate, picking up a heel, feeling it a little deeper into our calf muscles. So it's sit bones to the ceiling, head is between our elbows. We're making a nice triangle shape. If you're in the gym, you can use the mirrors to check your form. Check your back, make sure everything's nice and aligned. From here, we're going to pull one knee through into pigeon. We're just there for a second. If pigeon is not comfortable, you can always go like this. Lots of variations. Oh, my computer's doing something weird over here. We're going to shift into place just for a second so that we can switch and pull the opposite knee through. Taking note, maybe the side is tighter, maybe you find it to shift from side to side when you're on. Just take note. Which side do you need to maybe give a little bit more attention to, or you need to give a little strength to? And then we're going to pull that toe under. We're going to shift back into plank. We got to hold it in plank for at least a little bit. So tummy pull in, belly button to spine, rib cage to hip bone. You should really feel a good core activation if you focus on all of those things. You might look a little arched if you look in the mirror, and that's okay. Better than sagging. All right, we are going to grab a roller. Nothing too crazy here. We're just going to have a seat on our roller. And we're just going to kind of wake up the glutes before we use them. So we're just going to go back and forth gently on the roller. I'm just starting with kind of centered. I'm just sitting on it, centered. And then we'll kind of go, we'll do each side. Just gently. Be mindful of your sit bones. You don't want to like directly roll on any bones. That usually doesn't feel super good. You'll know if you're doing it. And then just kind of shift to the side. Get a little bit of that side glute. Kind of wake them up a little bit since we sit at our desks so much. Just bringing some mindfulness to the muscle. And then we'll switch into the other side. Also take note, are your glutes tight? Do they feel tight when you roll? Are you finding any like knots in there that you need to work on? We're going to carefully scoot back. We're just going to do a little rolling for the hamstrings. You don't have to go like all the way from your knee to your butt. That's a really big roll. You can just do a little small roll, kind of like right in the middle. Again, take note, how does it feel? Maybe play with the angles of your toes, putting your toes out or putting your toes together. See how that kind of gets different muscles of the hamstrings. Very nice. All right. Now that we've got those glutes kind of woken up a little bit, we're going to roll onto one side. We're going to wake up those hips and glutes a little bit. So we're going to start with our feet together, about a 90-degree angle between our knees. Our core is activated. We're not going to shift from side to side. Everything up here is going to be nice and stable. And we're just going to open up, doing a clamshell, really focusing on the movement coming from our side glute muscles. It doesn't have to be a big open, just a nice little one. Really focusing on that mind to muscle connection. I have to give Lisa a hard time for not being here because she'd be like my counter and she would keep me super honest, you know? We do too many.
Oh, I got you. I'll know for next time.
Yeah, she'll be like, I think we did enough of those. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to float this leg just above the other leg. And we're going to do a reverse clamshell. So we're raising up that heel. Again, we want to feel it in kind of the same spot there, right in that glute med. We're going to try to keep this nice and stable if we can. Keeping our core stable. No shifting. Let's do 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead, set that leg down, give it a little rest. We're going to take this knee down, the top knee down into our bottom knee, heel up, and we're just going to kind of press that heel back like we're pressing it into a wall. We're going to get a lot of this side glute, but we're also going to get a little bit more of just like the main glute muscle in the back right here, giving it a nice squeeze in the back side. This one can really, I would say quickly, start to burn. Using that core to keep our upper body nice and stable. Go for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Very nice. All right, we got to switch sides. Or we will be very uneven. Same setup on this side. Knees at about a 90 degree. Core engaged. Starting with that clamshell. Really making sure the movement is coming from the sides of our hip, the glute med right here on the side. You have to put your hand there, make sure you can feel that activation right there. We don't so much want it happening in the front, we want it happening in the back. Sometimes these front flexor TFL muscles like to do a little takeover. So just focusing on creating the right connections there. Let's go for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Same thing, we're going to float that leg, that knee just above the other knee, trying to keep them nice and lined up, and then raising that heel up towards the ceiling. Kind of that same muscle group activating, but it's twisting our hip this time. Doesn't have to be a big movement in order to feel it. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go ahead, rest. Last one right here. Knee goes down, heel goes up and back, really squeezing all those glute muscles like you're pushing it into a wall. We got 10 more. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Oh, they burn. They always burn.
You can tell the difference. Sorry.
It is. And you can also usually tell, like, oh, one side's a little tighter, one side's a little stronger. You're like, okay. Just give it a gentle stretch right here in figure 4. Breathing into that stretch. And slide. Not too much time here. I know, just leave me here in figure 4 for a while. And, like, I don't know why I don't sit like this at my desk. I could put one leg over the other, and I would get like a good stretch for a long time.
Yeah.
But I don't seem to like sit that way. All right, we got one more. We're gonna flip over onto all fours, so we're gonna be in a quad position. We're gonna engage our core. We can use the mirrors in here to kind of check our form. So core is engaged, ribs are tucked kind of towards the top of our hip bones. We're gonna stick one leg out. Actually, we're gonna do it this way. We're gonna do the full leg today, because the full leg, that's a lot to do. We're gonna do the pulses towards the ceiling. So everything is nice and level, and we're gonna pulse that heel up towards the ceiling. The trick here is to keep everything in the middle nice and stable. When you're pulsing, don't let it take your hips with and then like have it roll out. Keep your hip bones facing the mat, glute activated. With our knee bent here, we're kind of keeping the hamstring out of it and keeping it more of like a glute exercise. And then just taking a peek at our back. Should be nice and flat. Or neutral. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And switch sides. Reset. Core is engaged. Back is nice and flat. Just a little pulse towards the ceiling. Adjust. Make sure that hip bone is pointed down towards the ground. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right where you are, we're going to do a wide child's pose. Sitting back, feeling a nice stretch. From here, we're going to bring it up. We're going to just bring one leg forward. Just get a nice little hip flexor stretch here in the front. So you're going to kind of lean into it a little bit and then squeeze your glute of the knee that's down on the ground, and you should feel a really nice stretch on the front side of your hip. This will be good, especially because we're both going to go back to our desks and sit down, I'm sure. So we're going to put them back in a shortened position.
Or we can stand for a little longer.
We could.
I'm grateful for my sit-stand desk.
Yes, I have one of those too. I like it a lot. And we're going to switch sides. Just get back a little smidgen because I'm out of the street. I have no head. So leaning forward, squeezing that glute. Taking note, maybe one side's a little tighter than the other today. You just give that a little attention this afternoon, or make sure you're standing up when you're by your desk and stretching out a little bit, or taking a little afternoon walk. Just like that, we're done. It goes so fast.